Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Destination Paris, where every week we bring you the latest on the build-up to the start of the Olympic Games, which begins here in the French capital in just 36 days' time. On tonight's show, we'll be bringing you the latest edition of Around the World series, focusing on Indian wrestler Anu Malik. And stay tuned for a little excerpt of an exclusive France 24 interview with one of the Olympics' greatest ever icons, Tommie Smith. Well, we start in Budapest, where 4 days of action kicked off on Thursday, as hundreds of athletes try to seize one last chance to qualify for the Games. The urban sport competition taking place in the Hungarian capital is the final leg of the first ever Olympic qualifier series. The festival-style event features 450 athletes from more than 120 national federations competing in breaking, BMX, freestyle, skateboarding and sport climbing, with vital points available in the quest to qualify for Paris next month. The competitions are taking place at a university campus centrally located in Budapest, which can accommodate up to 10,000 spectators daily and offers free entry to the public. For those competing, they know how important staying focused is.
Competing, man, I would say anyone competing on a big stage out there, it's really just about trying to picture it like a normal day instead of thinking about all your surroundings and all the people watching you, because no matter what, in those big moments, your mind wanders. And that's where my music and skating with AirPods in really helps me stay focused and stay calm and stay hyped up.
Well, one of France's biggest hopes for a gold medal in Paris is swimmer Léon Marchand, and the 5 times world champion is gearing up for the Olympics in style, having completed an impressive 200 metres butterfly and breaststroke double at the French trials on the same day, a feat he hopes to achieve in Paris this summer. The 22-year-old made light work of the competition to swim the 200-metre butterfly final in 1 minute and 54 seconds, the 4th best performance of the season. Less than an hour later, he prevailed in the 200-metre breaststroke final, just half a second off his best time of the season. Both performances mean he will be able to race both events at Paris.
It's been a pleasure today. This morning I managed both races perfectly, which was enough to get into the final. And tonight, I really had to push myself in the 200-meter breaststroke. I had to do the time needed at 1:55. I swam really well. It's one of my best times in season, so that's really cool. After the 200 breaststroke, I had to swim 2:09 because I really had no energy left, so I'm happy it went well.
Earlier this week, preparations went up a notch ahead of the opening ceremony in 36 days. It's the first of its kind, taking place outside the host stadium, and we'll see a total of 205 delegations parade on more than 80 boats on the River Seine. The ceremony will drift slowly from east to west, bridge to bridge, snaking 6 kilometres from Pont d'Austerlitz to Pont d'Iéna. Jenny Shin has the details on the rehearsal earlier this week.
With the sun gleaming on the River Seine, 56 boats make their way from Pont d'Austerlitz down to Pont d'Iéna, as Paris picks up the pace of rehearsals ahead of the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games.
On the day of the ceremony, we'll have many delegation members on the boats with their uniforms and their flags, and that's mostly it. We're not really looking into modifying the boats. We want them to look like how they usually look.
All hands are on deck ahead of the grandiose event that will last nearly 4 hours, as the boats test their bearings, visibility, safety distances and speed. It's an unprecedented open-air ceremony, which is expected to bring 100 world leaders to the embankments. Although President Emmanuel Macron has said the event could be shifted indoors to be held at the Stade de France if the security threat is deemed too high, the director of ceremonies says there are no alternative options being prepared at the moment.
As you can see, there's the Seine and there are the boats, so it looks like we're sticking to Plan A. It's the one we're working towards and what we're training for.
There will be one final rehearsal before the grand official opening ceremony on July 26th.
Well, ahead of the Games, our teams from across the world have been following the preparations of several athletes, and it's time now for the second episode in our series about Anu Malik, who's one of India's top female wrestlers. Our team visited her hometown of Haryana to discover what made the exceptional wrestler that we see today.
West of New Delhi is Haryana. The region is the wrestling capital of India. It's where Anu Malik first stepped into the arena as a young girl joining an age-old discipline locally called Kushti.
We wrap our arms around our back and then we push with our chest.
They fight on the sandy ground, their bodies bathed in oil and mud.
All the big wrestlers in India have trained like this before they started fighting on mats. This sand has healing properties. We add oil and turmeric to it. For us, it's sacred.
140 kilometers away, a big challenge awaits Anshu. In Patiala and Punjab, the biggest names in Indian wrestling will meet for national selections. It's the last big event at home before the Olympic Games qualifiers. Anshu is competing in the 57 kg category. Her parents will be there to support her. To win, she will have to push her opponent's shoulders against the mat, make her fall, or push her out of this circle. It's time to face off, a clash of the titans. Olympian Anshu versus world champion Sarita Moore. Sarita is leading. Anshu tries her best to defend. Anshu is struggling to score, but her defense is hard to beat. It's the nth hour. Anshu strikes back. Scoring 4 points, winning the match 6-2. Victory for the young athlete who has been preparing for this moment for 4 long years. She is now among the 5 selected wrestlers who will represent India in the Asian qualifying events.
It was difficult and I was very nervous, but once I stepped on the mat, I forgot everything. I only heard my father's voice. I'm so happy very few wrestlers have the chance to represent their country. It's an honor for me to wrestle for India.
The next match is in Kyrgyzstan. The competition is harder. She will be up against the best wrestlers in all of Asia.
Well, we'll have the 3rd episode in that series next week. Well, the Paris 2024 organising committee has unveiled some of the athletes' equipment, including the rugby ball. On Wednesday morning, Italian tourists were the first to test out the oval ball. Blue, purple, pink will be the distinct colours that weren't chosen at random. The aim is to stand out from other editions so that Paris 2024 remains engraved in our memories. Well, the US team have also had a grand unveiling this week as they revealed their official outfits ahead of the Games. For the 4th Summer Olympics in a row, it will be Ralph Lauren designing the opening and closing ceremony uniforms, as well as a selection of village wear and accessories. The collection features bold graphics, classic stripes, and of course, a patriotic palette of red, white and blue. It includes varsity jackets, vintage-style tracksuits, as well as the iconic flag sweater, which is a firm favourite of US Olympian Daniela Moroz, who will be representing her country in the sailing.
No, I think you gotta look good to feel good, right? So I think we're gonna look super stylish in Paris, and yeah, we'll feel super good and feel really like patriotic and proud. I think that's like what the collection really shows.
Well, it's been 56 years since perhaps the most iconic photo in Olympics history was taken. Tommie Smith and teammate John Carlos raising their fists on the podium in Mexico, a symbol which sent a message around the world, something which Smith later described as a human rights salute. I'm delighted to say that Tommie Smith sat down with our very own James Vicina last week. Here's a little excerpt.
Do you think that that's something, so the Olympic Games should be a place where athletes can take a stand, make a political statement still today?
You know, the athletes do what they think is necessary. So I really can't speak for the athletes, only what Tommie Smith did and why it was important for it to be finished. The great athletes now have different things in mind, a different direction that they can go because of the financial push that the Olympic Games has for everybody who competes. Back in the day, there was none, so we did what the necessary part of life ruled us to do, is to tell the truth if we had a chance. Now, I tried to talk earlier when people asked me, not many people, but few people asked me about athletics, about politics, about education and these things, and I spoke, but I never heard anything of it until October 16th, 1968, when I stood up. Then the world opened up to those who should have asked questions years before.
Well, stay tuned in the coming weeks where you'll be able to watch the full 5-minute interview with James. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Destination Paris. Thank you for watching, and join us next week at the same time, 8:15 Paris time, to discover all the latest goings on in the Olympic world. Stay tuned for more world news on France 24 in just a few minutes' time.